Wow, while Donald Trump was visiting Detroit, there were protesters and some workers there who were shouting at him, "You're a pedophile protector. You're a pedophile protector." Then Donald Trump looked at them and said, "F you, F you," and then gave the protesters, or gave the people who were just calling him pedophile protector, the middle finger. Watch what just took place. Let's play this clip. Did you see what just happened there? The people of Detroit were calling Donald Trump pedophile, pedophile protector, pedophile protector. Then he said, "F you." The people know that Donald Trump is covering up the Epstein files, the largest child sex trafficking ring in world history, and Trump is covering it up. Let's just play that clip one more time so you can see, and this is so disgraceful that I even have to say this, the President of the United States giving the middle finger to peaceful people who are saying, "You're a pedophile protector," and Donald Trump gives him the middle finger and says, "F you." Here, play this clip. Now, folks, the walls are truly caving in on Donald Trump and his despicable regime today as it relates to the Epstein files. As we reported earlier, a federal judge in the Southern District of New York, Judge Engelmeyer, has ordered the Department of Justice to respond to a request by Democratic Congressmember Ro Khanna and Republican Congressmember Thomas Massie, who were behind the discharge petition, where they sent a letter brief requesting an independent monitor be appointed in order to review and produce the Epstein files. Massie and Khanna say that criminal violations have indeed been committed, and they have been committed by the Trump DOJ and the Trump regime, which has become a racketeering enterprise to cover up child sex trafficking. But Khanna and Massie say the most pressing need, Judge Engelmeyer, we need an independent monitor to get these documents released immediately, and we need your intervention. And the federal judge has ordered the Trump regime respond forthwith. Let us know your position about whether I, as a federal judge, can make that order under the Epstein Transparency Act. Wow, if an independent monitor or special master was appointed, that can be a game changer, and we can find out all of these illegal redactions the Trump regime is doing and what is really taking place. And folks, what they're trying to do now on the Capitol Hill, what Trump has ordered is sycophants like MAGA Mike Johnson, the snake, and James Comer, the other MAGA Republican snake. Frankly, all of them are like this pretty much. They've been trying to make this about Bill Clinton now. So here you have MAGA Mike Johnson running away from reporters, by the way, including one of our reporters who we now have on the Hill with our DC bureau. And he's like, "Yeah, Clinton's the one who's committed contempt. Clinton's refusing to show up for a deposition. Bill Clinton is the real issue here, not the violation of the Epstein Transparency Law." By the way, Clinton called for the release of all of the Epstein documents, which by law had to be produced December 19th. Here, play this clip of Johnson running away like the cowardly snake that he is. Play this clip.
Clinton's defied the subpoena today. One, are you going to hold them in contempt? Two, should the House Oversight Committee also pursue Trump and get testimony from him with as much zeal?
Why would they need it? The President Trump
he had a fast relationship. Just
President Trump gives open, unending press conferences on a daily basis. Anybody can ask him anything, and he's addressed this issue ad nauseum.
Under oath, it's different.
The Clintons have not, and I think it's defiance of Congress for them to defy the subpoena. I mean, I think by definition, it's a contempt of Congress, and we'll have to see how that plays out.
Mr. Speaker, there's going to be we have these crises in
By the way, a quick reminder, make sure you subscribe to the MeidasTouch YouTube channel. You may think you're subscribed. Help us get to 6 million subscribers. And also check us out at MeidasPlus.com. That's our Substack. You've seen us build out our on-the-ground reporting capabilities. You've seen our partnerships with Status Quo. You've seen our Washington, D.C. bureau with Pablo Manriquez and the great work they're doing on Capitol Hill now. So support the MeidasTouch Network if you can. Turn notifications on. MAGA Republican James Comer is asked about the release of the Epstein files. And James Comer's like, look, Trump and the DOJ are doing exactly what they should be doing. How pathetic that this is what the MAGA Republican who leads the Oversight Committee is saying. Utterly despicable. Here, play this clip right here.
We subpoenaed Pam Bondi for the documents. She started producing the documents. Then Congress voted for the discharge petition to send another message, and we all voted for that. They are sending documents. They sent a big batch. The Democrats were unhappy. They said there weren't enough redactions, so now the DOJ is going through trying to make sure they redact everything. So, it's from my standpoint, the Department of Justice is cooperating. They are turning over documents. We would all like for them to turn documents over quicker, but at the end of the day, they are complying. President Trump is answering your questions about Epstein. He's answered them over and over and over again. Who we haven't heard from is Bill Clinton. And I stated why. The amount of time that Epstein spent with Clinton while he was president and post-presidency. So I don't think it's out of line for former President Clinton to come in for a bipartisan subpoena and sit down and answer questions. So thank you all very much.
And then Comer attacks Hakeem Jeffries, the Democratic leader, and says that leader Jeffries needs to go to a Somali therapy center because Jeffries was calling out Comer's cover up with the Trump regime as part of a criminal racketeering enterprise of covering up child sex trafficking rings. So he says that Jeffries should go to a, quote, Somali therapy center. Play this clip.
On Epstein Island right now?
Bill, go ahead.
We asked Hakeem Jeffries about this last night, and he called you a deeply unserious person, said he doesn't have faith in you to lead this investigation. How would you like to respond to him?
Well, look, the feeling's mutual. I don't have any confidence in Hakeem Jeffries. I don't think Hakeem Jeffries ever mentioned my name the first 9 years I was in Congress. In the last 2 months, he's mentioned my name and made slurs at least 5 times. I think that Trump derangement syndrome is morphing into Comer derangement syndrome for Hakeem Jeffries. So my advice to Hakeem Jeffries is, first of all, recognize the fact that the members in your conference voted to subpoena Bill Clinton. It was the Democrat members of the Congress that voted for that subpoena, number one. And number two, he clearly has a problem with me. Maybe he should go to one of those Somali therapy centers and get some type of therapy for his disdain for me. If he's accusing me of any wrongdoing, then he should file a complaint.
And here is Comer once again saying, we will be holding Clinton in contempt of Congress. Here, play this clip right here.
Unanimously by the committee in a bipartisan manner, we will move next week in the House Oversight Committee markup to hold former President Clinton in contempt of Congress.
Yeah, good job.
Well, a lot of other developments right now are happening on Capitol Hill as the Trump regime is in freakout mode over what Judge Engelmeyer just ordered. You see the stress, obviously, that Donald Trump is, the pressure that he is feeling, and good. What a pathetic, vile piece of trash he is, covering up a child sex trafficking ring, giving the middle finger to people out there in Detroit. How utterly pathetic. A reminder, here is what Democratic Congressmember Ro Khanna had to say about Judge Engelmeyer. Play this clip.
So the special master request by a judge, procedurally, this is a kind of a request that's made all the time in various forms of litigation. And judges usually make it on the decision on the basis of, is there any other way for this to be handled fairly? And if not, we may need a special master. So this could be the key that unlocks this lock.
You're absolutely right, Lawrence. Judge Engelmeyer has been very thoughtful and deliberate about his rulings. He has cited the Epstein Transparency Act, saying the DOJ has an obligation to release the documents. And Pam Bondi has been communicating with the judge, saying we still have 2 million documents to release. 2/3 of the attorneys in the Southern District of New York are working on this right now. And so what we're saying is, Judge Engelmeyer, appoint a special master so that we know that we're getting the information that the law requires. The DOJ has not been providing that. They have been engaged in excessive redactions. Why don't you ensure that the law is being followed?
And a special master like that really reports to the judge. The judge can check in on the special master. How many documents now? How's the progress going? They schedule regular meetings in court with those kinds of special masters, don't they?
Absolutely. And it's a common practice when you have millions of documents involved, when you literally have 2/3 of our lawyers in the Southern District of New York, one of the most important U.S. Attorney's Office working on this, when the country is looking at what should happen. What this says is the special master will look at the law, the plain reading of the law, and will determine what should come out and what should be protected. Frankly, the DOJ should welcome this. Have an independent person. We're not saying Massey or I should do it. We're not saying the survivor's lawyer should do it. We're just saying have a judge appoint an independent person to interpret the statute and have a release of these documents.
And this is such an interesting angle on this, because normally between the executive branch and the legislative branch, when there's an issue of this sort, it gets worked out, and it gets worked out in good faith. And the executive branch might say, well, look, this is taking us longer than we thought. They come over, they explain why, they show you why. You go, okay. But since this is so contentious and they are obviously so untrustworthy, this is what has forced you to court.
It's unfortunate. We tried to extend the benefit of the doubt. Thomas Massey and I requested meetings with the Department of Justice. We requested with Bradley Edwards, who was the lawyer for the survivors, saying at least consult the survivors. As you remember, they didn't even call the survivors or the survivors' lawyers on the first release. We didn't criticize them until that first release. But now, weeks after the deadline, they have not explained the redactions. By their own admission, they have millions of documents. And our interest is not to score points against Pam Bondi. Our interest is the survivors. We just want these documents released, especially the 302 statements where the survivors name the other rich and powerful men who were involved in the rapes and in the abuse. And I have extraordinary confidence in Judge Engelmeyer. His decisions have been very thoughtful, and I believe he would appoint a person of integrity to oversee this process.
And that would be a huge breakthrough. Congressman Ro Khanna, thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
And here is what Thomas Massey had to say as well about Trump telling Marjorie Taylor Greene that it would hurt Trump's friends. Trump's friends would be hurt if the Epstein files were released. You know, remember back in high school and people would be like, you're going to hurt my friend, so don't do that. And it was usually about themselves as well. Anyway, play this clip.
Anyway, last month, before retiring from Congress, one of the few Republicans supporting your effort, now former Republican Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, she spoke with the New York Times about how this issue created this rift with President Trump. And in the interview, she talked about President Trump calling her upset after she threatened to identify men who abused Epstein survivors. And the Times writes, quote, Greene says she expressed her perplexity over his intransigence. According to Greene, Trump replied, quote, my friends will get hurt, unquote. I'm sure you saw that. What's your reaction?
Well, you know, I knew about that for at least a week or two before that was said, because Marjorie shared that with me privately the day it happened. So I have even more reason to believe that happened than the general public.
And of course, you have this video right here that Donald Trump partying with Epstein. We all know that. Play this clip.
Trump goes to greet 3 new guests, among them the financier Jeffrey Epstein.
Come on in. Go inside.
More than a decade before his guilty plea on state prostitution charges. Later in the footage, Trump is seen talking to Epstein and another man as women are dancing in front of them. Trump alternates between dancing and pointing out women to Epstein and the other man and telling Epstein about the cameras. Though exactly what they say is difficult to understand as they discuss the women and their appearances, Trump gestures to one and appears to say to Epstein, look at her back there. She's hot. And then Trump says something else into Epstein's ear that makes him double over with laughter.
I like what James Tallarico, who's running for Senate in Texas, Democratic candidate, said, so when did pedophilia become a partisan issue? Watch what Tallarico says here. Play this clip.
When did pedophilia become a partisan issue? The American people deserve to know the whole truth about Jeffrey Epstein and every single powerful person who enabled him. Every name, every flight log, every cover-up, all of it. The White House and congressional Republicans are hiding the Epstein files. Why? These are the same politicians who call librarians groomers, who call their political opponents pedophiles. And to be clear, if there is a Democrat on that list, I will be the first to call for their prosecution. Because if there's one thing we should all be able to agree on, Democrats and Republicans, conservatives and progressives, it's that no one, including the President of the United States, should be able to cover up crimes against children.
And here's what a right-wing podcaster named Tim Dillon had to say as well about the Trump regime. Play this clip.
Let's look at Trump here. And I do think, unfortunately, this kind of is the end of, and I say unfortunately, not because I care, truly, but I say unfortunately because it seems to not be doing anything good for anyone. This is the end of the Trump administration. This is the beginning of the lame duck presidency. It's obvious to everyone, even his most ardent supporters show up to the White House, like Laura Ingraham, and she's kind of shocked, going, what the hell's going on? Now we'll start, 3 years of talking about the ballroom. He will trail off. He will get older. He's adorned the White House in gold. Epstein's going to suck the oxygen out of a lot of this. We're going to talk about that a little later on. Apparently AI, by the way, the only thing I'm sure of about AI, I'm not an expert, is that AI, as soon as we have robots running around this country, they'll all be pedophiles too. There's no one in power that will apparently just not be a pedophile. All these robots will be pedophiles. 100% will deal with pedophile robots. Our first robot president will be a pedophile. I know that. It's the only thing I know. Our first AI robot president will absolutely be a pedophile.
And by the way, TMZ got the first exclusive of this and shared their video with us. So shout out with them as well. They've got a pop culture of history channel. And so check that out. And thanks for them for sharing us that video right away. And we were able to pull it up. We asked them, could we use that video? And we were able to share that video immediately. I'll show you also these protests right here of outside the Customs and Border Patrol building in Washington, D.C. So the Trump regime's getting protested everywhere. Play this clip. One more time, let's play that clip at the beginning of Donald Trump giving a middle finger to somebody saying he's covering up for pedophiles. Let's play it. There you have it, folks. Let me know what you think. Hit subscribe. Help us get to 6 million subscribers.
Love this video? Support independent media and unlock exclusive content, ad-free videos, and custom emojis by becoming a paid member of our YouTube channel today. You can also gift memberships to others. Let's keep growing together.